Are you ready for the fastest and easiest explanation as to why your weed killers didn't work? I would not apply another product to your lawn until you implement these exact things I'm about to share with you. This is by far one of the most popular products used in DIY lawn care. And you've probably used it in the past and didn't get the results you were looking for. And why is that? Once I started implementing these simple techniques, I was able to save more time and money, and the solution is actually quite simple. And now I coach other DIYers how to do these very same things in their lawn and get great results and kill weeds effectively. So I've got 3 tips for you. And actually, there's a bonus tip at the end that will make all the other ones make sense. But before we do that, there's something you got to understand first. Weed killers, whether it's the Scots like I just showed you, or your favorite weed killers, they all work the same. And they work systemically, meaning they have to be absorbed inside the weed or the plant in order to be effective. If you feel like this is a lot to manage and you're new to lawn care, go check out one of my lawn plans on my website. With easy to follow, step-by-step instructions, it will really take the guesswork out of lawn care. Answering questions like, am I making the right application? Or am I applying the right amount? All of those questions are answered inside the plan with detailed information. All right, let's get into the very first tip. Probably one of the more important ones. Remember in the beginning when I told you that weed killers work systemically? Remember, they have to work their way through the plant. And so the first tip is the weeds have to be actively growing. If it's too hot or if it's too cold and the weeds are not growing, the plant is not going to move those chemicals through the plant, thus not allowing them to work. The best way to ensure that weeds are actively growing is to wait for air temperatures to be at least 65 degrees for several days in a row. But remember, if it's too hot, over 85 degrees, the weed killers could potentially cause damage to your lawn. Now weeds, just like your lawn, stop growing when it gets really hot and really dry. So just keep an eye on the weather forecast and make sure that you're applying your weed control when the weeds are actively growing. All right, let's talk about tip number 2. You have to make sure that the weed killer comes in good contact with the weed. In the case of that Scots, you have to make sure that the ground is wet so that those prills have something to stick to. Try applying that Scots weed and feed early in the morning when there's dew on the ground, and that'll help increase the chances of it sticking to the weed. If you're gonna go with the liquid, make sure you coat the weed really well. Don't go too heavy, because going too heavy could also damage your lawn. And the next tip I'm gonna give you is gonna help you do exactly that. But at the end of the day, if the weed killer doesn't come in contact with the weed, it's not gonna kill it. So what can we do to ensure the best success? I told you I also had a bonus tip, and I'll give that to you at the end. And it is the most important thing that you have to understand. But before I do that, let me give you tip number 3. And tip number 3 is don't mow 24 hours before or 24 hours after you apply your weed control. It goes right back to tip number 2, making sure you get good contact. Not mowing before or after you apply your weed control gives us the most amount of plant tissue available for that weed killer to not only stick to, but come in contact with and deliver us the best results. Remember how I told you in the beginning that these weed killers, they work systemically. So waiting to mow at least 24 hours after you apply the weed control is going to give it plenty of time to get inside the plant, then move through the plant, giving you the best results possible. It should all be making sense now. If you apply these tips to any weed killer, you will see exactly why they are so successful. And remember, if you want help, go check out a lawn plan. On to that bonus tip that I promised you. Right tool, right job. The most important thing that you can do, above all of these other tips, is to make sure that you properly identify the weed that you're trying to control. If you apply a weed control to a weed that the product is not labeled to control, you're gonna be sorely disappointed and you're not gonna get the results that you're looking for. And none of these tips matter. With that, my name is Devin. I'm the DIY Lawn Coach. I can't wait to see you in the lawn. Peace.